We are in the series of the Society 4.0 series, and today we're talking about decentralized digital infrastructure. And today I'm doing that with my guest, Jelle van Noort. Jelle, thank you
Hello.
so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Digital decentralized infrastructure. It's a whole mouthful.
Yes, it is.
It's a big conglomeration of words. Jelle, this is your domain. You're one of the coordinators. Can you explain to me a little bit what is decentralized digital infrastructure?
Yeah, it's not only a conglomeration of words, but also of meanings. If you would ask it to some of our expert group, they would give you different answers, probably. Some would say it's decentralized storage space. So instead of everything saved in a big mega data storage center, we can also store it decentralized over many people or many smaller servers or on just your phone or your computer. That's one way. Another way is instead of having a platform owned by a single person like CEO, you can also think about decentralized ownership of digital infrastructures. And you can also think about the way in which people work together or people play together. You could see that, for example, in an encyclopedia, which is very centralized way how knowledge is created and how knowledge is spread through people. And a decentralized way would be Wikipedia, which is many people share knowledge with each other.
That's a great example because just in case that my mother is looking or the neighbor, you know, the difference between decentralized and centralized is that centralized is everything all together from one point and also directed from one point.
Yes.
Which makes it volatile, which is one of the biggest problems, and it also makes it easy to if you overtake that center, you have the immediate control of everything.
Yes.
And the benefits from having things decentralized is that many different parts all work together in a network of computation, connecting with each other and checking each other, and
Yes.
thereby having a sort of hive mind of organization that is technologically very possible.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And that way is also much less fragile and more adaptable to the changing world that we live in now.
Yeah, we need that adaptability.
Yes.
Yeah, because our world is quickly changing.
Yes.
So it's decentralized, digital, what we know about the digital world space, and then the infrastructure. What are we talking about when we're talking about the infrastructure for the Society 4.0?
Yeah. Well, also to this, there's like multiple layers. You can see as infrastructures as like systems that we organize ourselves in. So that could be just some software program, and we need many software programs to organize ourselves. But if you go deeper into the infrastructure, you can also look at like what is the infrastructure of the internet itself, but then you go into a much deeper, much more technological aspect of what this infrastructure is. So there's many aspects of both the word decentralized and the word infrastructures. And all of those are important, and also there are not necessarily super clear answers to all of those yet, because we're still, exploring and building and doing.
Yeah. If at this moment we are closing the definition of what it is exactly, we might still miss out on a lot of new things that are still in development.
Yes, exactly. And that's also part of that it is decentralized, that if it's centralized, it's very controlled and you know everything what's gonna happen, or you can at least make a prediction and act accordingly. But in a decentralized way, in a bottom-up way, everyone can come up with new ideas, new ways of doing things, and that way, it's in its nature, it's more unpredictable. And I think we should be open for that and embrace that and see where it can go naturally.
Well, I'm a big fan of bottom-up. I'm a big fan of openness. And it sounds to me that it's a way then for a lot of new creative things to emerge.
Yes.
And that is always what I loved about the internet, that it was always an empty canvas in which all kinds of new things can emerge. And it seems we're within the digital age, we have entered a new point where all of these new things like AI is coming out, the blockchain is coming out, there's 3D printing coming out, there's all kinds of new developments, and there might be things coming out that we haven't even thought of that, as more technologies come out, who knows what the future might look like. And so that's very interesting. It's a very creative path forward for in mind, even if you're not a tech person, if you're not a coder or somebody who knows how to program, it might be very easy in the future that an AI will code everything for you. So it's amazing times ahead. And I was wondering what your background. You told me a little bit about your background. You're a very creative person yourself as well. You like to build stuff. You're engaged with creative stuff. How did you? What's your background and what is your affinity with this subject?
Yeah, my background is in game design and game development. That's what I studied on an art school, and then I worked for several years, for 3 or 4 years, as a game designer. I liked that very much, but at some point I felt I needed to do something else, and also I couldn't find a job that was as fun as the other jobs that I had. So, and I also wanted to work with my hands, and it was during 2020, and all the whole
that severe flu season. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of like, okay, what is my path forward here? And then I also got, I was already interested in things like philosophy and psychology, and I was thinking about sociology things, and combining that with my design and interaction design experience. I was basically looking at society from a designer's perspective. And then at some point I saw something of Society 4.0, and the way Bob explained it really resonated with me, and I read the book, and I was like, yeah, this seems like a good way forward, or at least a good starting point.
Yeah, it was a good fit for your own ideas of
yeah, absolutely.
If you, from a designer's perspective, I'm giving you the chair and you're God for just a couple of minutes, and you get to paint the future with the tools that are at hand for you right now. What can you see in the near foreseeable future of how things will go? You have an idea of what we might be looking at? Just a sketch.
Yeah. I think the core thing that we need, or that we need more of, is that we need, like, now we have a system, and the system is the system, and that's it. I think there need to be more feedback coming into the system from people, so that the feedback from the system can change the system itself. So it's a system that's there's not an end product, but it's more like an endless process that's always evolving and correcting itself and is self-organizing. I think that's the main thing of what needs to happen, and also what will happen more when it's more decentralized. And I think we are already in that shift.
And right away I'm thinking of fractals. So as a game designer, you probably know at some point there was a revolution in CGI. I come from a film background, and but in game design it was as well. You need a system to generate all the visuals that you need for a good film, for the CGI, but probably in game design as well. All of a sudden you need a tree with all different kind of leaves, and all the leaves need to look the same, but but they cannot look the same. There has to be something within them that changes something about them. And so what you create is you create a pattern, but there's a fractal involved. Like it's the same thing, but in a different way, and at different scales, again and again and again.
Yeah.
And once we were able to teach computers this, then it revolutionized the way that we do visuals.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is this also needs to happen in a lot more different systems, so that the systems will then create a bedding for all of our other societal structures, if I'm paraphrasing correctly.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, and I also think like literally on the fractal way, and like the multiple levels of scale. I think it's a great idea to include levels of scale also in our digital infrastructures. So like now many things are just like completely global, but what if we have like certain digital infrastructures or on certain levels of scale, like the family level, the community level, the regional level, or the national level. These are all levels which need a different kind of approach, and different aspects of society are more appropriate in different scales. Yeah. So if we include that's this fractalized design in it, I think it could be much better. Yeah,
I agree, and you see those skills in a lot of different things. So, for instance, I'm a big fan of food forest, for instance. So if you know how a forest works, you have the shrub layer, you have the root layer, you have the vine layer, you have the understory, you have the upper story, and there's all different kind of scales of operations, and they all work together, all of them. Same thing with education. You have the younger groups, the bigger groups, and they can all work in a system where they raise each other for. Same thing with what you said, the societal level. But there's differences as well, because what I share with my family is not what I share with my country. So there's boundaries and differences towards different skills, yet there's similarities.
Yes.
And that's the thing that is easily copyable with technologies. You can just pick and choose and say, this yes, that not.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah, the potential is very rich and is there, and but then still, it needs people to do it and to fine tune like what feels right and what doesn't feel right. That needs some time, probably.
Yeah,
some years.
Yeah. Of course, it's work in progress.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to go to a place where I can disconnect as much from the current system and I want to create a place where I'm as self-sufficient as possible. And I don't want to disconnect from the world. That is not the objective, because a lot of people, they think like, well, I'm gonna be a hermit, and
Yeah.
I want to seclude myself, and I don't want to have anything to do anymore with the rest of the world. That's not the objective. The objective is to have a place that encompasses the most amount of freedom and the most amount of control, and still be in connection with the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so this resonates a lot with Bob, his idea of global,
Yeah.
right? Be active on the local scale, but be connected on the global
Yeah.
scale. And I'm just curious what the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure idea is of how to facilitate such a move. And I was wondering, do you have any tips or advice or anything that might help me as an individual starting up a project like this?
Yeah, I think for this, it's important that like many people go somewhere to live like more off the grid, and like you said, and if you are an hermit, then you basically don't need any digital infrastructures, of course. So it's not a primal need or anything like that. But yeah, if you want to stay connected, then
For some people, it is right now. Some people are so addicted they cannot.
Okay.
Yeah,
True.
but yeah, you don't need it to live.
To
Let's say.
survive. Yeah, exactly. But you want to stay connected with the world, and then then these infrastructures does come in, and I think it's important for people to share experiences, and like if these, I don't know how you want to live, like in a community or just on your own or whatever, if those communities who live also like as free and as autonomous as possible as you want, and if those communities or people can share their experiences with each other, and they, for example, someone learned something new and can share that with someone else, there's a lot that we can learn together, like what plants grows in which climate, and like there's so many things that we can still discover of when you're actually living on your own and doing your own thing. So I think in that respect, it's very important.
Yeah, well, that's one of the reasons why we're filming everything and why we are broadcasting everything, because I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm sure I'm gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I want to share those mistakes, and I want to be able to show people, well, this is the way that I'm doing it, and it went wrong here. So whatever you do, don't do that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Or at least in the context in which I'm in, because
Yeah.
it might work in a different situation, but and so that is all open source, open information, and it's free for the people to learn from. And I think it's always interesting because YouTube kind of has become like a library of people who learn crafts and trades. You wanna know how to fix your car? Well, look on YouTube.
Yeah.
Anything you
Yeah.
want is probably there's a version of it on YouTube. But at the same time, there's this new frontier. For instance, robotics. I'm fascinated by robotics.
Yeah.
I always have this idea in my mind where, of course, we know the Boston, what are they called?
Boston Dynamics.
Boston
Yeah.
Dynamic robots. I'm fascinated because they're funded by a company that makes that they want to use them for war.
Yeah.
Because they can go on every terrain, and they can come where people cannot come. However, if you have a food forest, you cannot use a tractor. You will kill all the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But one of those Boston Mechanics robots, it will walk easily towards paths, and if you put a grip arm in it, it will pick any fruit from any.
Yeah.
So this is one of my fantasies to go with something like that. If we want to create a place like that, we can build a foundation for that. What would I start with? What would be needed to begin with? If I want to be less susceptible for hacking, or if I want to be less susceptible for all of the data that I generate, because I want
Yeah.
to I want to have that connection. I'm not available for all of the big companies
Yeah,
to
yeah,
constantly use everything that I produce and to let it be used for their
yeah,
purposes,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So yeah, I'm searching in that, and I
yeah,
think a lot of young people are searching in that. Like, okay, we see what has been happening, and I think especially our generation, and I think a new younger generation might be losing it. They're feeling for privacy because
yeah,
already so much has been stripped away from that. So how do we create this new space in which we I don't know, there's a lot of questions all in
yeah,
one,
yeah,
and a
yeah, yeah.
lot
No,
of
it's very
ideas.
interesting. Like if I think about robotics and stuff, it's very interesting, and the technology behind it is also very complicated. So often we see that it's created by a company who, did a lot of research and there's a lot of money. So it's very centralized way of doing things like robots. It kind of almost has to be centralized. But at the same time, I also see some possibility of having that more decentralized and also having more of your own control in it. Because if you think about something like 3D printing, then it is possible that you just download something, and maybe a complete robot is a bit much, but like let's say if you start with something more simple, like a, I don't know, a coffee machine or something like that. Um, so you can just download it digitally and then print the parts with a 3D printer and put it together yourself. Then you would have a lot of control and a lot of autonomy over how this product is. Um, I think that would be a very interesting way forward. But it's also, yeah, like I don't know where things will go, of course. So and if that can grow into the complexity of a complete robot doing something like that, I think maybe could be.
Well, yeah, and of course, this is where you need the community because I'm not
Yeah,
nowhere near as savvy as other people are. But there's people who enjoy doing this kind of stuff, and that's always think of there was this open source idea of precious plastics, for instance. What they did is they just built machines to basically create microplastics, just shred all the plastics left over that you have, and then heat them up and extrude them into a new mold or extrude them into new possibilities.
mm,
So you can basically get something new from that plastic. So you can remold that plastic. So very
interesting.
very interesting
Recycling of plastic.
open
Yeah,
source
yeah,
recycling possibility. Yeah. So next to 3D printing, which is of course also very interesting, but yeah, it just adds to the range of all the things that might be possible.
yeah, exactly. And if you put all these things, like all these things emerge out of their own, but then if they have emerged, you can combine them in different ways, and so it becomes harder and harder to foresee what is possible, and at the same time, it becomes more interesting if you start combining these new things
Yeah.
together.
And if you want to combine them and you all want to have them, that you almost need like a local workshop where
Yeah,
people learn how to do these kind of
yeah,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's why it's also important, I think, that these communities are connected together. So one workshop might learn something, another workshop might learn something else, and they can communicate their experiences
Yeah.
and learn. Yeah.
Is there anything like that already? We're talking about infrastructure. Are there any of these kind of initiatives that already are available at the Society for program?
I know things there are being worked on, but something like that is like really, really available and that I would, share here. Not really. I think most people still use things like YouTube and TikTok, and because that's also kind of doing that function. Because as you say, if you live somewhere and you want information, YouTube has it usually. So I think it's still mostly there, but I think alternatives to that are being built now, and so to give you a concrete thing is a bit difficult right now. Yeah.
We're still in the process of finding out, how these things work. So it might be something for the future, just to connect all these initiatives up and see what things are available.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about talked about 3D printing, and we talked about robotics, and are there any other things that the blockchain is very interesting? Are there other things that you think are very promising for the future?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I could add something like AI to it. We can talk about that too. But I think the most promising thing for the future, despite all the technologies everywhere, is the human itself. Because I think that if that is the most essential thing. If we, because it's not the technology that is the solution, because we are the solution ourselves, and of course it's kind of like a cliche, but if our connection is okay, then we can use the technologies in a way that's okay for us and our environment and all that. And if our connection is not okay, then the technologies that will come out of us and the way that we use it will also not be okay for us or for the planet. So I think that's the most important thing. It's ourselves and the way we relate to each other.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's the technology is never evil or good. It's the human behind it that steers it and uses it in a particular kind of way. So it's a good thing to remember.
Yeah. Technology is not evil or good, but it does kind of it does change us in the way we view the world. I also don't really see it as neutral, because like we see, because of technology, we are inclined to see the world in a very utilistic way. So in how can we use the world around us? Instead of a tree, we see wood, and we can use the wood to build a house, for example, or do whatever.
We don't see the life form anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, the sort of like the not neutral aspect of technology. And now that goes like faster and faster as technology is like, expanding so quickly. It also kind of removes us from the natural, from the human aspect. But at the same time, this removal of the human also confront us more with this thing, with what is human actually? So I think this moving away from the human is also actually making us more human in a kind of paradoxical way. Because like if we make an AI, then we're going to question, okay, what is this AI and what are we? And we will find out more about ourselves because of technology in this way. And also, if we have technologies that are with which we can do a lot, then we also have to be more understanding of each other, and because if we don't, the consequences will be worse. So in some ways, also things like social media is making us more understanding of each other, because we see what people think on the other side of the world. And it used to be easy if you only know what your neighbor was thinking, but now we know of everything, of every people. So technology does a lot to us. Yeah, it's not good or evil, but also not neutral, I would say.
It's so refreshing to talk to someone about decentralized digital infrastructure, and then whatever I'm giving you, what you give me back is yes, but our connection to nature.
Mm.
You know, so it's such a it's a this is what I love about the society 4.0 is it's holistic in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
And yes, you're completely correct. I think when you say that we shouldn't forget about our own nature, our human aspects, and
yeah.
if we look at an animal, do we look at meat and leather, or do we look at the companionship that they give us and the
Yes, exactly.
connection that
Yeah,
we have? And humans are not human resources; they are way more than that.
yeah, yeah,
It's hard to encompass all of that. Like,
yeah,
what does that entail then? The interconnectedness of all of us. So.
yeah. It's. I get what you're saying, and yeah. So when you say like we're not human resources, and then I thought like yeah, because in according to technology, it's all ones and zeros. Like it's all numbers. It's quantitative, but to us, things are more qualitative. Like yeah, how do we feel with each other? Yeah, and to bridge that gap and to embrace both the ones and zeros and more the qualitative things is, I think, where the most beauty lies.
Well,
Yeah.
the question is which part becomes more dominant.
Mm.
So there's no stopping the future. There's no stopping all of the things that are gonna come our way. The question is
Yeah.
then what gets the overhand. If it's the machines that get the overhand, well then we know where we're gonna end up in
Yeah.
because we have had many films about this.
Yeah.
So we know what that looks like,
Yeah.
but do we know what the opposite
Yeah.
looks like, where humans are the human experience is put up front, and the that connection with, or what do you want to call it, source, or that
Mm-hmm.
recognition of humanity,
Yeah.
that wanting to have, that wanting to that longing for beauty, that connection with art, that the inspiration that we get
Yeah.
from music.
Yeah.
More and more music these days is auto tune, is it's a drum beat that comes
Yeah.
from a computer. However, music before that was the imperfections of humanity in it, because if you're a human that makes music, that music has to come forward through you. So all imperfection, because you were in an emotional fluctuation at
Mm.
some point, that translate into that music, and that can trigger emotions in another human being as well, that
Yeah.
can never be achieved by a
Yeah.
machine.
And maybe even it are these imperfections and these mistakes that is actually the beauty in it. Because sometimes, and I'm just thinking, like sometimes I think like AI will make the most sort of perfect art, like everything, the composition and the everything just perfect. Um, but then we will have like an endless amount of like perfect pictures, and then that becomes less interesting. And then the things that are more human and more imperfect or a bit raw, or just like live music, for example, also that will become maybe more interesting for us and more beautiful for us.
Who knows? Because for instance, I did an interview with Ruben Hansen from the Aesthetic City, who is
Mm.
very interested in architecture,
Mm.
and so we talked a lot about harmony and scales of harmony that were very prominent in ancient cultures, where sacred geometry was more understood.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, like, what if we can teach harmony to a computer? What if we can teach AI harmony and how to
Yeah.
create harmony for us?
Yeah.
Do we know what comes out when our world is filled with harmonic structures,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that it stifles creativity. It just is a, fractal again. It just can multiply harmony until the endless possibility.
Yeah.
So will it get boring? Maybe harmony gets boring.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, it might be, it might be the space that they need to finally let go of a lot of burdens that they carry with them.
Yeah, that's interesting, and yeah, if teaching AI these sacred harmonies and sacred geometries, that would be beautiful, and it can also, of course, keep working together with the humans.
If we want it to be, if because that is then again, where's the dominance? Because if humans are walking on the leash of AI, that's a completely different reality than AI walking on the leash of humans.
Exactly. Yeah, that seems to be like the sort of the split in the road, like where is this all going? So make movies about the way we want it to go, and teach AI sacred geometry.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to do and what we're trying to inspire people.
Yeah.
I know that there's a big movement that wants to counter the, what do you call it, the transhumanism movement. With Neuralink and everything. And there's people who say, "Oh, AI is the devil," and of course there's always counter movements. There's always and there might be valid critique in a counter movement as well.
Yeah.
However, that it's not going to go away. It's not gonna, we're going to create more and more computing power, and we're going to find more and more ways to utilize the computer power.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me it's always like, okay, how can we integrate without losing our humanity?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How can we empower the new generation of people who are gonna understand the new technologies of the future way better than the generations that have already been? Because if I look to, the young children that are around the mothers and fathers that are in my area, they use the apps and the phones so intuitively. They're hardwired almost to be like, oh yeah, this, that, and they almost completely shut out the rest of their reality because they're entranced by this particular thing that is becoming quickly their entire world.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of negative sides for that. For instance, I've talked to somebody who teaches us how to improve our vision, and one of the worst things to do is to keep constantly staring at one point of focus. Our eyes are made to move. And I'm sure that this is the case for a lot of different aspects of our minds as well. If we constantly dive into the screen area, then we're not living in the rest of the world. So do you see any kind of way forward in which we can detach from that, or should we detach, or try to incorporate all of that in a harmonic way and try to move forward in a way that is balanced, that is encompassing all of that together?
Yeah, that's a very good question, also a very deep question. Like, the question then also for me becomes like, do we need a screen still, or can we go into something else that is not with a screen? Like, because if screens are bad for the eyes, can we, is it maybe going somewhere else as well? That's one thing that comes up for me. Another thing that comes up for me is like, how much is it your own responsibility, and how much is it, the responsibility for the one who creates such a thing? Um, like, yeah, it's your own choice if you are on a screen all day. Yeah, and then if a child does it, is it, are the screens bad, or do we need to, make our children aware that it's we use it limitly or with limits. Um, yeah, it's
Well, of course, you're correct. You're very correct. But we raise them now in an environment where they're everywhere. So
yeah,
even if you're a parent, and you say like, "Oh, well, I don't want this for my children," well, good luck, because they're
yeah,
utilizing them now in schools, and even there, they're finding out that is not the best way for education.
yeah,
It is a global consciousness problem
yeah,
that is
yeah,
happening.
absolutely.
Yeah, and we know that if those global problems, we cannot solve them in a global way anymore, and that's where Bob makes the perfect transition. So, well, if it's not the global solution, then we need the local solution.
Yeah,
So yeah, for me, there lies a lot in the answer that you gave before with the 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 nature, the connection with nature,
mm-hmm.
and then stepping away from that,
Yeah,
and then giving opportunities to express all of that creativity into the different ways
yeah.
that there are.
But what you said also about education and children, and like what I'm something also thinking about, if AI goes on, like the greatest teacher would then be an AI person who tells you everything, So then I think like then we are being taught by computers basically, and then thinking, yeah, is that what we want, It's,
I mean, it's a
the
good question.
yeah, like or maybe our future children only needs to be learned like the human aspect of things, and maybe the rest they will figure out because they will understand it maybe much better than we do. uh I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
and it's logical that you don't know, because the question of AI puts everything on its head.
yeah,
Because let's say you're depressed. Now, if you want a sincere and deeply committed uh, uh, therapist, turn on ChatGPT, because everything that you have that's in your heart that you need to tell somebody, and you want a loving good response, ChatGPT is there for you.
yeah,
And that's in some way it's it's mental to to have that,
yeah,
but I know it works for people. I know people who have, well, I was really at a down point and I really needed it to talk through to someone, with someone, and I was able to do that with the AI. And at the same time, it's like, well, are you losing something of your humanity then, or are you amplifying your humanity?
yeah,
It is a transitional form.
yeah, yeah. It's very mind-boggling to think about these things, and also about like, okay, how do we relate to the AI? You can see an AI as an omniscient being almost who knows everything, and if you ask it, you get an answer. Like, we used to relate in that way. It used to be God.
Sure.
So how, yeah, like how are we going to how are we going forward with this,
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely double checking my AI. My AI, I'm always gonna be like, are you really sure that they built the pyramids like that? I'm not sure if you know
Yeah,
complete, because
exactly, because an
yeah,
AI can just lie and will not recognize that it is lying, because it might be very smart and all, but it doesn't really understand anything. It's just like logical, if this then that, just
Yeah, it's still a computational model,
Yeah,
and with a model, with any model, if you put bullshit in, then bullshit will come out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and it might be a bit controversial, but I don't think I do think humans have a kind of understanding that AI does not have. Um, and other people, can think different about that. Maybe my opinion will change also in that. I don't know, but yeah, I see the AI mostly as a logic, it has a lot of processing power, and that is why it's very intelligent. But I think humans have a sort of like a direct, we can know in a more direct way without seeing all the parts of something. We still, oh, something just stands out, and that is, we know, like, oh, that's the direction, or that is what is true for me. And I think in AI or computers, or like if you do it in a logical way, you have to go through all the parts of, for example, a picture, go through all the pixels, and then you know what it is. And I don't think humans look like that.
I no, I think you're
Yeah.
very right. We have an amazing capacity to filter something out and say and identify just that. We are capable of focusing on one particular issue and look at everything that is that
Yes,
and filter
exactly.
out everything that is not that.
Yes.
And for a computer, that is still very hard. It's very difficult for a we can build a lens with the camera. We can but for a computer to figure out that is exactly that is still very difficult to know exactly what it is and exactly follow its movements and predict what its movements are gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's getting better.
Yeah,
It's
it's getting better. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's we are hardwired to do that. We are uh, yeah, we that's exactly what we are. That's exactly what we do. So there, I think you touched upon something that is particular for humans to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know exactly what that means, but it is peculiar. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you walk into a room, if I would walk into this room, I would probably immediately see you and you, and the people are immediately standing out. Then then there's the dog, and maybe then there's some furniture or something. Like, you see what is relevant to you. And
yeah. And what makes that more relevant than, for instance, the carpet or the ceiling?
exactly.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
for an AI, it might all be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's a logical kind of steps that goes on into our brain that scans, like, is, oh, the carpet, no, that's not relevant to me. The
Yeah,
ceiling, no, that's not relevant. Ah, a human, oh yeah, check, that's relevant. I
yeah.
think,
Immediately we attach that meaning.
yeah, it's just like,
Yeah,
it's just there.
yeah,
And
yeah. And
yeah,
that's the interesting thing because we are teaching AI meaning. We are
yeah,
teaching it because we are teaching it to be a servant to us. No, this is meaningful to me. That is
yeah,
meaningful to me.
yeah,
Even if it gives
exactly.
responses, sometimes you get, is this better or that better?
Yeah.
It's like, this is better.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And that is also why AI works, because it works because we give it feedback and we show it exactly what you say. We show it the meaning of
yeah,
things, and then it learns from that, and then it just keeps on replicating it.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
but it,
So,
it works.
so
Yeah.
from that perspective, you would want as many harmoniously people who are in harmony as much of them
Mm,
to use an AI system because then it will teach the
yeah.
AI to be more like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you teach an AI over all the the shit that's on the internet, the
It will
AI will
create the
also.
Terminator in the worst form.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, if we keep on making movies like that, then it will happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
maybe make other movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I tried. It's It was too difficult.
Mm.
I thought I just should start gaining more knowledge first. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, I have kind of similar story with the game design thing that I also like. Yeah, it is difficult to,
yeah.
to go in that direction because you're going into the direction that's not explored yet. So well, of course it is explored to some extent, but still it's
I mean, gaming is full of what do you call them? Like
fighting.
yeah, fighting, but also dystopias. It's
Yeah,
they're full of images of world that have been torn down
yeah.
already. You're the last
Post-apocalyptic.
person,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like
Many. Yeah,
yeah, or it's filled with zombies, and here's your shotgun, and kill everything.
yeah. And movies too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And but there's this other aspect of gaming too, which is intriguing to me, like the Minecraft community,
yeah,
which is filled with young people.
yeah,
And I talked to with this about my episode about architecture as well. Is well, where are the future architects? Well, they're
yeah,
playing
yeah.
Minecraft right
Absolutely.
now. They're
Yeah,
making beautiful things,
yeah,
but they're doing it in a digital space. And how do we get them to be in the real space? How do we get these brilliant minds that are now learning about what is coherent, what is beautiful? How do we get them back in our in connection with
yeah,
nature? How do we keep them here?
yeah.
That might
That's
be the most important challenge.
yeah, yeah. That is a very important challenge. Yeah, or yeah, I'm thinking like how like that. Yes, I feel that too. And then at the same time, I think yeah, because maybe these children are into Minecraft, and then at some point they will get older and they will naturally use it in their life as well, and they will materialize it in some way or like make physical buildings or
Like that's
whatever.
their education.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and who knows how physical buildings will be built in the future.
And they
Although
might be 3D printed with blocks.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun to speculate, and
Yeah.
it's interesting to see the possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I often
That's
think about, you know, when I was a kid and when I was gaming, I was often I was playing these like just a fun fun game that I played was Heroes of Might and Magic. I don't know if
mhm.
if you know it, or
Unfortunately
it might even be that it was just out of your range. It wasn't there
not.
anymore when you were, but people my generation might have known it, and it was just you go out and it's a campaign map, and you just go
Mm-hmm.
there and you just play, and all of a sudden you're raising an army, and this army was in a magical world. So all of a sudden you get these magical beings and these magical creatures, and you can either be a wizard or something
Yeah.
like that. And there was this arsenal of all different kind of mythical creatures that you had under your command, and I just read them, and after a while, I knew all the mythical creatures, but I didn't know that they came from Greek mythology. I didn't know that
Mm.
they came from other beings. I didn't know where a centaur came from, or a
Yeah.
griffin, or like, but later on you recognize them. It's like, hey, they're in the Harry Potter films, or they're so I gathered this idea of this how do you call it, like a pantheon of all different things that are out there, and it stimulated my imagination. So whenever I read something now in Greek mythology or someone, I still that picture comes up,
Yeah.
and I often think about how gaming is a underdeveloped, underutilized tool for education.
Yeah.
And now that I'm learning more about permaculture, food
Yeah.
forest, and how all the different plants and how the different trees, and they have all their different utilities, and we can still utilize them, but we have forgotten this knowledge because we've been living in an industrial way, flat form for so long. I've often been thinking, like, can we not do a Minecraft version of real permaculture? Like you just play the game,
Yeah.
you play it for as long as you want. I don't care, but when you're done playing, you know something that you can utilize in the real world.
Yeah, and gaming is a great way of communicating an idea, because if you just read something or just watch something, then you're you're just observing. But if you're playing something and interacting with it, then you're actually doing it, and then the understanding is much richer than just from observing.
You're putting something in your memory, you're activating neurons, you're linking concepts together.
Yeah.
It's very it's very formative.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So yeah, perhaps that's what we need. We need more game designers. We need better game designers.
Yeah.
We need better AI people. We need, it's really up to us when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all up to us, because it looks like something is just going on of itself, which is kind of so, but it is driven by humans. So
Well, only if you let it be, then it goes on itself.
Yeah.
If you subtract your responsibility from it, then it continues on and it
Yeah,
spirals
yeah,
out into
yeah,
something
yeah,
that you have no
exactly.
control over.
Yeah,
But if you are involved in it, then you can steer the ship a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Is there anything that you think we've missed in this conversation? Is there anything that you feel like, oh, I really wanted to talk about this? I'd like to give you this opportunity, or maybe talk to the people watching. Anything that you want to give them?
I don't know.
Join Society Force, maybe.
Yeah, join Society 4.0, and
Yeah.
we have a Telegram group where you can interact with the other members, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, we talked about that you're my youngest guest in the Society 4.0 series, and that if there's a way to inspire young people to join the group, because there are going to be possibilities on the horizon for young people. The future exists out of young people.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, so to that, like to the young people who are already involved in this and doing things with this, as we talked about, we need those people to also come on board. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we is not Society 4.0, it's humanity.
Yeah, both. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for this interview.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. With that being said, if you like this interview and you've enjoyed this, then please give it a thumbs up. We can really use it. Also, if you want to be part of the community and you want to help make the paradigm shift, then write something down in the comments and help out the algorithm. That way we can also be in contact with you. So if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, because we really want to get this channel at some place where we can be self-sustaining. So subscribing always helps us, and it doesn't cost you anything. So please hit that. Last but not least, we really could use some support, if you want, by visiting our sponsors, organicacbd.com and blueearthinnovations.com. Both those websites are very important for getting your health up to standard. So if you want to help out yourself and you want to help out the show and you want to help out a good company, then go visit our sponsor and use the code Paradigm Shift in their stores. With that being said, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.